Hi friends, it's Lethea from Farm View Creators. Today we're going to work on the Home Sweet Home Hutch from the Rust Covered Cottage by Christina. I love these little shelf sitters. They are just adorable. They're so easy to paint. I feel like some people are kind of intimidated by them because the pieces are small, but you should not. They are just fun. And honestly, they're a very quick paint. I plan out my colors beforehand, but then once I get in my groove, it just goes really quick. So I am using Dyke Brown Antiquing Glaze. This is a semi-gel stain on some of the pieces. I'm having to reinforce my sticky board because it wanted to pull up. I'm going to use it on some of the frame pieces. I'm going to hit both sides of the easel. And then I'm going to set those aside and let them dry. I do like to use a terry cloth covered sponge for my stains. I just feel like it's a little less messy than some of the other ways I've tried to stain. And now I am pulling off all the tiny little pieces and I am putting them on my sticky board based on what color I feel like I am going to paint them. I can always change my mind, but at least this is a start. So now I'm going to go in with my Buttercream. This is a chalk style paint from Paint Couture. I love Paint Couture paints, period. I love them. If I could only use them, I would. However, I have lots of other paints and I'm having to force myself to use those as well. I'm going to kind of scrape out those groove lines, the score lines to give it the shiplap look with my weeding tool because I want that detailing to be present. It doesn't take long, and if your weeding tool kind of pops out of the groove and scratches in other places, you just paint it. I sometimes rub it with my finger and it'll kind of buff it out, or I can paint it again. I'm going to hit the drawers with that same Buttercream. As well as a few of the pieces. One of the, I feel like they're Tupperware dishes like my mama had when I was growing up. And then one of the candles. And I'm going to go in with, this is Spanish Sunrise. It is by far and away my favorite yellow. I'm not a big yellow person, but I just love this one. I guess because it's more muted, neutral yellow in my opinion. So I'm going to use it here and there, get the top of those Tupperware bowls. And then I'm going in with Autumn Sage. This is another chalk style paint from Paint Couture. And I'm using the side of a sponge dauber and just kind of swiping over. And sometimes I put too much pressure like here on the welcome sign, but I can just kind of pull that out with my weeding tool. And but if you don't put any pressure, a lot of times you can keep the paint out of those scored detailing and scored words. So I'm going to put a second coat on those drawers. And then I'm going to go in with Abundance. This is a really pretty light blue color. Getting the edge of that sponge and then just kind of swiping it over so that those score lines stay nice and bold, as well as the design on the dishes. Then I'm going to hit the top with my Spanish Sunrise. The Spanish Sunrise and the Abundance and this Night Sky are all mineral acrylic paints. So they have a built-in top coat and they're more full color coverage than the chalk style paints. So I'm going to hit a couple pieces. I'm going to clean out some of those grooves that I was a little heavy-handed on. And then I'm going to go back and continue to add those details with my Spanish sunrise. So pretty. Set that aside. And I'm going to use my chippy brush and a little bit of the Buttercream chalk style paint, and I'm just gonna kind of swipe it over, and this is really just distressing the edges of the piece, and it's just a faster way than kind of going around with a sponge dauber or an ink brush. And then I'm going to go in and add just a little bit of my Debi's DIY dark wax, and then I'm going to go in on all the other pieces with that dark wax, just giving it more of an aged, distressed look. Really gives it dimension, and when you run it over the words that are scored in and the designs that are scored in, it can really draw them out, especially if you've accidentally got too much paint in them. They can kind of, resurrect that, I guess. And I keep my brush for that in a Ziploc bag so that it doesn't dry out. Now I'm going to go in with my favorite top coat. This is Paint Couture's Dead Flat Top Coat. Takes out all the shine and gives it a layer of protection. So I'm hitting all of the pieces with that, and seriously, a very thin coat for this. Gonna give that a good dry, kind of clean up my area a little bit. So you want your pieces to be nice and dry before you start assembling them. So now I'm going to put on the front pieces of the actual hutch, and I'm using my art glitter glue. Love, love, love this glue. I love how it has a super fine tip. I love that I can get a bigger bottle and refill my little bottle, so there's not so much plastic waste. I love that it dries clear. I love that it gives me a little bit of wiggle room, so I can still wiggle around my pieces if I need to. And I seriously, seriously love that it does not make my fingers crusty. So I've got all those big pieces glued down. So now I'm going to place in my cute little accent pieces, make sure that I know where I want them to be and that I'm happy with how they look. Making sure I have the placement correct so that they all fit nicely. And then I'll go in, and I usually start either at the top or the bottom and work my way down the shelves. If I don't, I'll miss something, because I am easily distracted, kind of like a squirrel. So I'm getting all those pieces. With this glue, a little goes a long way, so it doesn't really take much. I just love those bowls stacked. Beautiful, so fun, and so cute. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.